It's time once again for the Gorp Show, everybody. Welcome back. My name is Josh. What you saw on the screen was a nice little Mona Lisa retelling of the story. Anyway, the reason we bring that up is because Gorp today is about Gerard Butler, O'Keefe, Ringo, and Palahniuk, all of which in their own right are artists. Welcome to the Gorp Show, my brother Nerculus. Nick's here. Welcome back, brother. We saw Nick on the board game episode, I believe, and we'll have a video game one again soon, and Nick's going to be there again. Also joined by Fry. Whoa.
Well.
Anyway, today we bring up these artists in their own right, and my stupid art picture so that we can talk about today art. Our receptacle is an art book. When you're sitting on your bed just reading some art books. This particular book is Maxfield Parrish. He's a huge name. He was in 1 in 4 households in the 1920s. That's pretty awesome. Here's our topics. You ready to get into it? Here we go. Let's pick this one.
And we miss you, Brooke. For all you Brookaholics, we're probably looking at here coming up. She'll be back, I promise.
Brooke's coming back. Here's a nice picture he did. You might recognize it. He was in like a lot of World Market reprints. Anyway, the
World
topic...
Market reprints.
You know, you go to World Market or Pier 1 and you have those like fake framed... They're real pictures that are framed. Or maybe Ross, you know, and it's like they print it. Anyway, the topic is, why are artists so weird?
Why don't you start, Josh?
Well, we talk about artists... And we all just know they're so weird. Like, for instance, I hate to get into the hot topics right away, but Kanye West is a weirdo. Like, whatever you think about him, whether you love him or hate him or in between, he's just weird, dude. He was wearing shoulder pads and ballet tights at a public event. That's all you really need to say about him, besides all the other things you could say about him. But even people like Bowie, who are like weird in a really cool way, artists are just weird. They have these quirks and they don't really fit into things. Maybe that's why they're artists. I don't know. What do you think?
Didn't we talk about Bowie being really weird in what was it? It was the Labyrinth, right?
Yeah.
And we were like, wow, he really, really, really should not have been dressed like that in a movie for children. But yeah, he was a bit eccentric. I think there is a lot of studies being done on this. I don't want to dig too deep on Kanye West. Yeah, he is bipolar, and he is real bipolar. So I don't want to beat on that. But you go all the way back to the movie on our other property that we discussed, Loving Vincent, and Van Gogh cut off his ear to give it to a woman. Michelangelo was a known schizoid. He did not like to be around people. He wanted to be by himself.
He smelled bad.
Right? He wasn't agoraphobic. He was a schizoid. And I think it also has something to do with someone in that state of mind. It's very hard to find somebody that can relate to you or where your head is at or where your ideas are going. So you feel alone, and then your brain really falls on that. Like, I'm alone. I'm the only one. And we are communal creatures. And in being communal creatures, if you isolate yourself from that, I think you're going to develop some weirdness, if that makes sense.
Yep. And want to express it because you can't express it any other way. That's interesting.
Jackson Pollock, didn't he have he was autistic? What no, he wasn't autistic. What did he? Oh, goodness gracious.
I think he
Pollock
just
had
he
was mentally ill as well, and I can't think what it was.
Had holes in him. That was his problem. He just couldn't stop spilling paint. But it ended up making him a millionaire. This is a fact that you shouldn't even bother looking up.
It's just so well known.
I'll look it up here in a bit as far as what Pollock had. But yeah, also you got to think the drugs.
Drugs?
Does he struggle with alcoholism?
Oh, that's
Pollock
very
did?
believable.
Pollock struggled with alcoholism, died at 44 in an alcohol-related single-car collision.
Okay. So, alcoholism. Thank you for looking that up, Nick. Jackson Pollock had alcoholism and died in an alcohol-related crash. I apologize. What were you saying in regards to that? Were you giving us some insight into why you think the artist may have developed alcoholism?
Oh no, I was saying like that era, 20th century, probably the 20s to the 60s. I think alcoholism was pretty common among artists.
It's just what happened.
And then they moved
Humans.
up to. And then they, and then they moved up to weed and mushrooms, and LSD.
Cocaine.
And
But yeah, Hemingway,
Quaaludes.
same boat. He's a writer, but that's an art form in its own right, especially with him.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just like really open about it. Like, you just get drunk, right? Well,
He's
Hemingway was the
broken in
20s,
more
right?
ways than
Or-
that. He was
No,
broken
he's
in more
before
ways
that.
than that.
But yeah, artists are weird, and I think it's kind of like cyclical. You know, like you're weird, so you can't really communicate properly, so that you communicate in a weird way. But then the weird way makes people identify with you, which makes you feel weird, so you get weirder. Substance abuse is common. Lack of mental health coaching or support. I think it's more nature than nurture, but you nurture it and then it becomes natural. Wow, I just wrote that down. Quote me.
I've never heard that before in my life.
Sometimes you must have gone to art school.
Yeah, I'm not sure if
I
you knew
think-
this about me, but I went to art school.
Oh. Oh.
Couldn't graduate.
Yeah.
Stick figures didn't get me by.
Let's check it out. What's next up on the topics? Let's go with, here's a good one. Also by Maxfield Parrish. Pretty nice little picture there. He was really good with lighting, and it was in the age of photography, so he used a lot of live models and such. Anyway, the topic is, who's the best art person?
I can lead us off here, but I think that really depends on the art form we're talking about, right? Like if we're talking about acting, we would have huge debates and arguments, and some people would just say, well, who has the most championships? Daniel Day-Lewis and Meryl Streep. So they're the best at acting, you know?
Yeah.
If that's what you felt back on it.
For everyone, though. Can't be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wouldn't say that about the two of them. I think they're fantastic, but I don't think they're the best. Scorsese is widely considered one of the best directors of all time, and it took him until he was like 70 years old to win an Oscar. So I think that also goes along with that old adage, like art isn't appreciated until the artist is gone. Most of the time. Right? Because then the people that want to make money off that artist can then come in and sell their art.
Yeah, it's a dirty cycle.
It's a pretty dirty cycle. It is. But who is the best at art? I'll tell you that the person's story that I enjoyed the most was Michelangelo. And I know I just said this one earlier, but I just think it's funny because the Final Judgment, he included a lot of the cardinals that like commissioned him, and kind of he felt forced to do that painting, to paint the Sistine Chapel, and he hated them, but he was the best artist of the time, and so he painted a bunch of them in the Final Judgment going to hell, like the cardinal, and he saw the church as a corrupt institution, so he's like, all right. And I think that's kind of cool, like in that era, to be so like double middle fingers to you, knowing that the church could probably have you killed, but you're like, what is it? You ain't gonna do shit. The person, and he continued to press them. Yeah, he just kept doing things to push, and they did, and he was right. They didn't do anything about it. He's like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna have you doing this over here. I'm gonna tell everybody you're corrupt, and you're not gonna do anything because I'm not gonna finish the chapel till I'm about to die. So your move.
Wow.
I love that stuff. Those little comebacks, those little, I call them like diss tracks, right? Even though it's art, it's a painting or a sculpture. It's the same as a rapper doing a diss track on you, and you live forever now in infamy. And that, like, it's like when one of the churches commissioned someone to make a sculpture of Lucifer, but the church said, we're not taking that. It's way too sexy, because he was like really sexy looking. And so they hired his brother to do a Lucifer sculpture, and he made it sexier on purpose. Now you got Lucifer like pulling his hair back, and he's all chiseled up, like he's looking sexy. You know what I mean? It's just so funny how artists do that stuff.
Right? The temptation. That's what'll get you every time.
We can't have softcore porn in the church. You know what I mean?
But it's accurate. So fight him. Mm-hmm. Fight the artist on it. Temptation leads to sin. Fight the artist. He's just telling the truth.
Yeah, it's like Rage Against the Machine stuff. F you, I won't do what you tell me.
Why don't you tell us who you thought was the coolest?
I think I'll just pick a few categories that are all art, but, in the umbrella. As far as artists go, I'm just going to pick a few categories, I guess. Like a painter, I think Van Gogh's one of the best. But I do like all kinds of other artists. There's comic artist Jim Lee's one of my favorites of all time, but also whoever the hell did the coloring for Silver Surfer Black. That's one of the coolest comics I ever read. Good story, but incredible, mind-blowing art. Artists, I think the Roots are maybe the best hip-hop group of all time. They're all great artists, including Questlove, the best drummer and producer.
Wu-Tang would like a word.
I'm sure that Roots would say Wu-Tang, and Wu-Tang might say Roots sometimes, but they'll always say themselves. But yeah, that goes to that. And how about artists in the realm of acting? I think Jim Carrey doesn't get nearly enough credit.
No.
I was just watching that. I was just watching that episode or the clip that they have when 50 Cent is performing and he's got Jim Carrey on stage and Jim Carrey just does the hair whip and 50 Cent can't even keep rapping without laughing.
Yeah. I've never seen that clip.
You gotta check it out.
It's a good.
It's his birthday or something, so they bring him up on stage.
Yeah.
Have you get? Oh.
What are you thinking for some arts, Nick? What's some artists that have helped you along in your times of struggle?
I feel like you guys have ignored some pretty obvious ones. If we're talking about greatest artists of all time, I mean, you got your Taylor Swifts, you got your Swifties. I mean, she's been on the Billboard for like 28 weeks.
Yeah, she's like Pink Floyd level of popularity.
Yeah. I mean,
60,000, right? She sold out a stadium with 60,000, and there were still 10,000 people waiting outside.
But also you got like your Justin Biebers who've been 163 weeks on the Billboard top position.
Yeah,
but realistically, even that is overshadowed by BTS, the Korean K-pop boy band, who have been 180 weeks consecutively.
180 consecutively. That's incredible. I've never seen them perform. I need to watch a music video or something. I'm sure they're really good. I'm sure they're pretty good.
Smooth like butter.
Yeah, it's just K-pop. Yeah, but it's really popular. They're really good at it.
You know, Nick, when you said that stuff, you actually led me to think, Nick, did you watch as much wrestling as your brother and myself did?
I stopped really watching wrestling in like the 90s.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But you watched it.
I did watch wrestling, yeah.
So I said acting, and I left out athletic acting with the wrestlers. And I think some of these wrestlers are pretty great artists. Like if you go back to The Undertaker in the The Undertaker in the 90s, right? He told a story. Like he was an artist about what he was doing.
Yeah. And then he was playing multiple characters.
Mm-hmm.
Did a lot. I mean, he was like one of the last people to really even do like major drama like that. Eventually it's just like
shtick, that gimmick character.
No, it's like, what the hell's the Undertaker's deal for like 20 years?
Yeah.
No one knew.
Much later in life than I would have liked to admit. Like I was like, is this dude for really undead? Like, what's his deal, dude? Because he comes in with the,
and like everybody else in that era, like eventually it just gets to this point where it's just a bunch of like really muscly dudes, short hair, like almost no storyline between like chatting each other out.
Yeah,
like they're.
I'm more
chat. Like, I got this beef with this guy, so it's just going to go back and forth for a few years, and Undertaker's just in the background, just like summoning the forces of evil or something.
Yeah.
You guys can argue all you want. I'm going to put one of you in a casket.
Yeah. I mean, it's really like it is like one of the last gimmicks of pro wrestling. There's still gimmicks, and there's still superstitious like fantasy elements, of course, but like he outlasted a lot of people, and you have to be really good at your art if you want to keep that going. Like he kept that facade for way too long, in a good way.
Yeah, he's probably my favorite. Did you guys have like a favorite storyline though? Who was the best ever for you guys? Like obviously, probably Ric Flair was up there, but like
I didn't really like. I don't think I really connected with Ric Flair. Like, maybe if I watched him now, but like I don't know. I just remember being a kid and it was like he had white hair, so he was old and automatically uncool.
Yeah.
I love that.
Wait, who is this guy? The Four Horsemen that wants this old man?
He looked like Leslie Nielsen.
And don't call me Shirley.
No. But like, I don't know. All the wrestlers I know are just a little older than that, so it's like kind of Andre the Giant, Jake the Snake. I really liked Ultimate Warrior for some reason.
Yeah,
Jake
even
the
though
Snake.
I don't. I mean,
he was just awesome.
Well, he's named the Ultimate Warrior, so obviously he's got to be the best.
He's the Ultimate Warrior.
Just like Macho Man's got to be the most macho. Like you can't get more macho than the Macho Man.
Oh, rest in
You know what I do remember specifically is I have a really strong memory of the Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels era where it's like, who is actually the coolest guy? That's kind of what their storyline was. Like, no, I'm the coolest guy. No, I'm the coolest guy. And I just like that whole, it wasn't much of a storyline, but it was there. And they had an iconic match.
Razor Ramon had that with Shawn Michaels as well. They had almost a similar, no, I'm the baddest. I'm the coolest guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For sure. Anyway, let's switch it up. Let's get off of this and get on to some more of this art. Okay. Here's one. It's called, What the Heck Do You Even Know About Art Even? Bro? Oh, I forgot the painting. What do you appreciate about it? What's art? What do you like art? What's made you think like, oh, I should look at that more?
What do you think, Nick? What is attractive in the art world to you?
What's pretty? What do you know?
Bright colors.
Bright colors.
Bright colors, like thick lines with smiley faces.
Like, give me a smiley face with a big old brush. Use the garage broom, dip the garage broom in the paint, and make a smiley face.
Well, let's talk about this, Nick. What about you know, we always did a bunch of cartoons and stuff. We love cartoons, but when you discovered anime, what was a huge draw with all that?
A lot of the early anime, I guess the big draw was that it was very counterculture. So like for me, we had a dad who was a bodybuilder, like, you know, so he's a big guy, especially when you're like 12. And like, I don't know, 90s had a lot of action stars and stuff that were all like huge muscular men, giant guns, things like that. And then for me, I guess anime was attractive because it was all different. Like there was a lot of homogeny at some point, I think, in the early 90s. And anime just had all of this weird stuff, like a character who was short and kind of scrawny could still be really effective as a, you know, like Vegeta's not, like Vegeta's a devastating fighter, but he's not really a big guy. Like you put him next to Nappa and you're like, oh, well, Nappa's clearly the guy who's going to beat the shit out of everybody.
Turns out that's Vegeta.
That's not even true.
I only know one Dragon Ball Z character. I only know Piccolo. and Hercule, just because I had a curly afro when I was in high school, and the kids would call me Hercule, and I didn't know they were making fun of me.
But yeah, also things like you know, Ranma 1/2 had a lot of, it wasn't macho stuff was an aspect of the plot, but it was more of showing how everyone can do everything kind of thing. Or Sailor Moon, how
but also like
these little girls are magic wizards. That's cool.
Yeah, but also like it wasn't just like the character sizes and stuff. Like I really loved Tenchi Muyo. That was another really old anime, but the animation quality is really good, but also you had these cool characters who were like, there's clearly Star Wars influences. Like some of the costume designs were crazy and like incorporated bodysuits with like Scottish elements, with, you know, old English elements, with like some Italian shit, and this all came from like a Japanese perspective. So it's very ingrained in Asian culture, but you're seeing a lot of other elements kind of mishmashed together in a really cool way.
Yeah, I love that too, and it was all from a Japanese perspective, like you said. And a lot of them just did a lot of research, so these costumes were like nothing we had seen before. Right. And then also, like, what about the writing element? Like, it wasn't necessarily much better writing, depending on the show, but all the shows had continuity, and they had a plot that was going somewhere, which was not very common in America.
Yeah, Western art at the time was not concerned with a large overarching narrative. Syndication was really huge back then, so a lot of shows were designed to be digested in just one episode.
Yeah, filler stuff.
Fillers were really common, and fillers are in everything, but fillers were really common in American work. You had a lot of plot lines that just began and ended with one idea, and then you could just everything resets for the next episode. Or if there was a progression, it wasn't too terribly big of a progression.
Right.
Like
everything goes back to normal eventually.
What was exciting about it, though? What was the exciting piece of that art? What made you want to watch it as a child? Because as a child, it couldn't have been a lot of the aspects that you respect now as an adult. There had to be something. I liked where you were going. Sorry, Nick.
Some of it,
I loved where you were going with the skinny guy can beat up the big guy aspect.
Yeah,
of
no.
It. Yeah. I wanted to hear more about that.
And the fight scenes,
some of it was that you could have so some of it was the stuff we were just talking about, but also there's bright colors, there's very expressive faces, there's characters kind of being able to express different needs, I guess, or wants,
inner monologues
beyond just I'm the big muscular guy, I'm gonna get the girl, I'm gonna beat up everybody around me, and that's the entire point of this.
Right.
So I don't know, even just Dragon Ball, but like I liked Sailor Moon pretty early on, and that was kind of a weird one, but for a guy, but it was kind of neat to see a storyline from a female perspective. So I think a big part of it was just on some level I felt starved for different perspectives.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think anime for a really long time was able to fill that void of being able to see things from a different perspective than the one I was used to or the one I grew up in.
Sorry, that's one of the things that has me the most pissed off about what's going on in Florida is art. You said I craved different perspectives is something you said, because I asked you to dig into when you were a child, like what would have really appealed to you. And you saying that, trying to dig back into those moments in your life when you were a child, just shows like, hey, art gives these children a world outside of the one they're in. It gives so many different perspectives, and if you take that away, you're left with almost a sense of numb, if that makes sense.
No, I think if you take that away, then you've got this void inside of you that you don't really know how to fill, because you don't have the tools to know how to fill it, and you're just kind of left with this void that you either leave unfulfilled, or that you find out later, or that you know what you were supposed to be doing there, or maybe even you grow resentful of that void and kind of hate
you
it
feel
down
it
the
a different
road.
way, and it's more toxic, perhaps.
I think that kind of ties back into what we were talking about earlier with what made artists weird, especially like we were talking about the Pollock and the 20th century stuff. I think that they didn't have a lot of good coping mechanisms for different problems they were having or experiences that they wanted to see and stuff. And I think there was a big hunger for that. The cross-dressing, things like that. I think that all ties back into it, that they weren't allowed to express themselves in certain ways. And sometimes that manifested...
Or repressed, right? In certain ways.
Yeah. Sometimes that manifested through their art. Sometimes it manifested in less healthy ways, like alcoholism or abuse, and that just kind of spiraled out.
Yeah,
that's so interesting. Sorry, Josh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. No, I got nothing else. I mean, I was just agreeing with you too. Yeah, there's going to be an outlet, and hopefully you're lucky enough to know how to do something healthy, like some sort of art, and be allowed to express yourself in the way that works for you. I was reminded of just drag queens and how they have these drag shows, and like there's a show with about real life ones, and they travel and meet other drag queens, and they talk about the stuff. And one of the main people in the show was talking to someone else, and they said, "This is not just something fun I do. Like, I have to do this. I can't not do this. I have to be on stage." And as
this is who I am.
Yeah, as they were saying that, they started to tear up. They're like, "No, I need this. This is not something that I can just stop doing." The rush of being on stage, that endorphin you get from having accomplished something and showing someone your stuff, whatever it is, even if it's some dumb little tchotchkes that you make that you maybe want to sell on Etsy someday or whatever. Like, you have to express yourself some way, and people being repressed, not allowed to do their art or not allowed to express themselves in the right ways, it causes artists to be weird. hopefully not as bad.
Humans.
It causes humans to be weird, and not even if you're not an artist, you want to see a certain kind of art that now it's being not allowed or whatever is frowned upon. Like even that, as an observer, you need to have that.
Yeah, I think even if you're not expressing yourself in your art, you need to be able to see yourself in art sometimes.
Yes, yes.
And that
The
kind of
Little
fits
Mermaid
back with
stuff.
the Little Mermaid stuff. It fits back like the King Spider-Verse cartoons.
Mm.
Like I mean, that's all about just kind of being the person you want to be.
Everyone's Spider-Man. Yeah.
I
Beautiful.
think that one thing we've established in what do you even know about art is the one thing that if we could talk to a world right now, and the network is working on that, we're just growing slowly, is perspective is crucial. And Nick, that was perfect. You totally changed where I was going to go with that question, and I wholly agree with you in that last instance. Is perspective is so crucial to life, to understanding, to developing.
Right.
Within your life, to evolution. Perspective. Nations didn't develop into great nations until they went out and met other nations and developed and gained a new perspective. So art
And
being able to
that.
deliver and then that eventually happened, but we didn't have to get into that. But yeah, I think art delivering, pardon me, is the word I want to go with there. Perspective to so many different people, as long as you live in a place, which we should in the United States, where it is readily available to you to grab that perspective, whether it be on your Netflix queue, on your Hulu queue, on your Disney queue, in a library, in a bookstore, on your Amazon, on Tumblr, sure, right? Like anywhere you get this stuff, get perspective. And I love that you went there, because I agree with you wholeheartedly. One thing I know about art is it provides perspective, and I know we all need perspective. Josh, on your note, you talked about the show you were watching with the drag queens. I thought, I don't know if you guys watched Doom Patrol on Max.
I love Doom Patrol.
Doom Patrol did the amazing Danny episode with the Spirit and his struggles with his homosexuality, and he got to embrace it inside the city of Danny. And that was a whole drag queen show, right? Where they're singing and he gets up on stage. That is an amazing example of how important perception and expressing yourself is.
Danny the Street is just amazing. It's not even a real character, but Danny the Street is just amazing.
Danny the Street is amazing. I wholly agree. Danny the Brick, Danny the Street, Danny the Tire. Danny is a great character.
All right, let's change it up. I hope you like that little Avalanche cameo. But here's a new topic for us, folks. Art imitates life, imitates art, imitates life, imitates art, imitates. So that's something I'm not sure if you guys have heard the phrase, because I went to art school, so I learned it.
I've never heard that before in my life.
It's just for anyone who actually doesn't. It's just how things are reflected in art, and then they become reflected in life, and it's a cyclical pattern. The chicken or the egg is not the same thing, because it was the egg first, by the way. It wasn't the chicken. That's the fact. But not the same with art. Life imitates art. We see something, someone drew a weird hat, so now we're gonna wear that weird hat, and now it becomes real. So then, I don't know. It's a really awesome phenomenon of humanity, and it's one of the coolest aspects of our existence, I think.
Do you consider your imagination art?
I think it's
just your own personal art,
artistic concepts, perhaps. Yeah. I think it has to be realized before it's art. You know what I mean?
Okay. But I just think that in your head. Go ahead, Nick.
I think it's definitely a part of it. I mean, your imagination influences literally everything you do.
Yeah.
So I think there's a part that's like, I think it's a part of art. I was trying to say it's the heart, but then I realized there's way too many. Art. No, there's too many words that rhyme, and that's clunky. But I think that it's definitely kind of the central theme of art is just kind of your imagination, and then how you express that. And sometimes that's painting, and it's a lot of there's a lot of mental strain that kind of comes with putting your art out there. So you want to express it, but expression isn't always a thing that it doesn't always fit these parameters that
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't fit the picture. The picture you draw on the page isn't the picture that you had in your head.
Oh
Um,
yeah, totally.
so sometimes I think art is a little bit of an interaction between that and the real world. So like
Mm-hmm.
if I have a story in my head and I write a story, but it doesn't turn out quite the way I wanted it to in the beginning, then sometimes that's for the better. Um,
Yeah,
and I think the world has a real influence there.
that's cool. I
Mm-hmm.
like that. The catalyst is going down on the paper or whatever.
Yeah,
Is that the same thing you just said?
yeah.
You oxidize it. Yeah.
Right.
Do you so it's funny you said life imitates art, and I went immediately to you believe your imagination is art. This is going to
Mm.
sound super weird, and stay with me on a hypothetical level, please. Don't think I actually think this, but when I'm in a moment, whether it be jogging or cooling down, walking, or
Mm-hmm.
lifting weights, I I imagine like sometimes my brain will slip into the past, right? Nostalgia. Think about
Mm-hmm.
scenarios or events that have occurred, and then it'll deviate. Not to use Nick's Spider-Man multiverse thing, but it'll
Okay.
deviate into all the possible outcomes if I had made different choices
Yeah,
there,
yeah,
here, or
yeah,
there,
yeah. The
Mm.
brainstorming
right?
thing.
Like,
Yeah.
and your brain. I don't know if this happens with you guys, but it happens with me. My brain will write the story that Nick's referring to in my head. Like I
Mm-hmm.
vividly see the pictures in my imagination of how it would
Yeah.
have turned out and what I'd be doing. And I could see it. I could see the faces. I could see the conversations, all
That's
of that
interesting.
stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that comes also from the influence of art that I've seen, whether it be in a video game, in a comic book, in a
Mm.
chapter book, in a
A rom
epic
com.
novel, yeah,
Yeah.
or a rom com or a movie,
Right.
right? So that's why I say like I think my imagination is created by the art that it's influenced by the
Oh, absolutely.
perspectives that it's seen,
Stop,
and then
jackass.
yeah, I
Absolutely.
think I try to imitate it.
Yeah, dude.
Like
Yeah.
I would never have thought of a blue hedgehog that runs really
Mm-hmm.
fast. I just if I was left to my own device, that would never have been a thought that comes in. And now that is a part of who I am.
Sonic the
It's not
Hedgehog. Yeah.
necessarily a big part, but I
It's a
think
piece
Yeah.
of you.
it is a piece of me that I did not create.
Yeah. He's in
I
your
didn't.
head now.
Yeah,
In your
just forever.
psyche. You
Every
used to
time you
love
see a hedgehog,
Sonic.
right? No, like
Yeah,
every time
no,
you
a
see
little
a
bit.
hedgehog, you think of a blue hedgehog.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's like what? But what if blue and fast?
Yeah.
You get in a little exercise ball. They're like, "Sir, this is
Yeah.
a pet store. That's not your hedgehog." You're like, "I'm just doing an experiment."
Yeah. Or well, my thought about the art imitates life stuff is just like the best example I could think of is where like you see something cool on TV and you try to imitate it, or a character that
Right.
you like, or this, like how a lot of anime geeks like try to emulate the cringy characters that they like on the show, and
Yeah.
it doesn't translate well to real life, but people really do it.
No.
Or also like the tough guy, you see a tough guy on TV and you want to act like a tough guy, so you emulate those guys. It's art and it's imitating. Or Andrew Dice Clay, you remember that comedian? That was a character, and then he just started being that character. That's who he is now.
Mhm.
The leather, you know what I mean? Or people trying to act like they heard a song that, some NWA stuff, and like they want to be hard
Mhm.
too, and etc. Then that creates new rappers and new artists and new actors and new comedians that are
Right.
emulating their old stuff, and then they are the ones giving the art to other people who are making it into their life, etc. And I already started with this, but I just love that concept. Like it's within us. It's everywhere. Art, man.
I dig that. What's our last
Ooh. Oh yeah, let's pull one more
Gorp-
topic, eh, buddy?
the Gorptastic topic?
Good, fantastic. Okay, let's talk about this one.
That's very 90s, by the way.
We've gone into how like the art can be anything, and art's just an expression, and blah 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 blah. So, what art you doing? What art you doing? If you could say that Like, what's something that you're doing as
Public
a what are you
speaking.
doing?
That's what I'm
It's
doing.
an
I'm
art.
public speaking.
You
I
put
think
your own
that's an
zip
art
on it.
form. Absolutely. Man, you've met me. Come on. I'm not good at sticking to scripts. I'm good
Yeah,
at an outline. Give me an outline and I can roll with an
yeah.
outline, but I can't, do not tell me exactly what to do because odds are
Mm-hmm.
you and I do not agree on what the right thing to do is.
Mm.
so,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
so
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
public speaking, like even right now I'm deciding whether or not for my Toastmasters group I'm going to give my icebreaker this week or even go this week, but that is something that I think is the art that I'm doing, and it's the art that I was blessed with is I have an ability to improvise a speech at any point in
Mm-hmm.
time or a dialogue with somebody at any point in time. So that's the
Yeah,
art
a lot of
I'm
folks would
doing.
kill for that. A lot of folks would kill
Yeah,
for that. That's something, and
some
you
people.
cultivated it, and you've like carved it down to your own style and stuff. What about you, Nick? You got some art? What's you working on right now?
Oh, well, I don't know, but I write sometimes. I like writing.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
I
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
like expressing myself with writing. I like using my hair to express myself.
Well, you just added blue and you cut it short a little shorter. Yeah.
Well, it's mostly just a "Don't hug me, I'm scared" reference, but
Oh,
um,
sorry.
but actually, I am getting it dyed tomorrow. But I like doing food. Honestly, I really love
Yeah,
expressing
I
myself
was
with
hoping you
food.
mentioned the food. You're always thinking about a new
Oh,
sauce or
it's
something.
bait. It's bait. What sauce?
uh, yeah, you're always in the mindset of creating a new sauce, or you made your own recipe for pizza dough that's better than the pizzeria. And yeah, you got some real artsy stuff with the foods.
Well, yeah, no, I think it's a lot. I like having fun in the kitchen. I mean, I cook. I cook as a job, but and that's fun too. But I think actually, honestly, just about any chef you talk to who
Mm-hmm.
works professionally, I think they get used to cooking in a specific menu, but they all really just kind of froth at the mouth at the idea of
Mm-hmm.
getting to get creative and do something unusual.
Yeah, yeah. You made a cheeseburger
Um,
pizza. Mm.
Cheeseburger pizza.
And a beef
I mean
Wellington one
that
time. Yeah, we always
I
joke
did
about.
like
It's not really a joke, but like I like to cook efficiently and in bulk, so like I can feed a church group if I had to, for a decent price. And Nick, like he thinks of like what's the best thing I can make that'll make everyone salivate, and it's like something you'd see in a magazine. The presentation's incredible. Like Nick puts a lot of
nah.
love into what he's making. Some
I suck at
lambs, all kinds of
presentation.
weird stuff. Yeah, that's
But I
pretty
like
cool. That's
painting
pretty cool.
minis.
Oh yeah,
I
you
like
paint
doing
miniatures for like D&D and stuff.
yeah. We got some coming
Yeah.
in shortly.
Nice.
Uh,
Okay.
That's what's up. You got
they
the
will be
airbrush and the
painted.
tiny brush.
I need
That's
to
what's up.
learn
Yeah.
how to do more.
And that's
Nope.
actually that goes into me sort of because you and I are both going to be doing. We started a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, and that's a form of art,
I
especially
thought
the
you were
D and
about to
D
say
side of it.
camp. I thought you were about
We
to stop at camp. We started Dungeons and Dragons camp, and I was like, "Go on."
We're
But you-
going to D&D camp.
yeah, but
I will follow you down this trail.
No, that
the
sounds
Dungeons and
awesome.
Dragons campaigns. It actually does sound incredible. A D&D camp. I would pay a
Like we should
lot of
just
money
open
to
up
go.
we should open up like a summer camp for kids that we
Mm-hmm.
just sit around a fire and play D&D.
Yep.
They have
Court
little bunks or
presents.
something.
That sounds incredible. But
Like
yeah, that's
during
a
the
wonderful
day,
form of expression.
they all get in like the cafeteria area during the day and paint minis, and then
There you
like
go.
yeah, in
And
the
turkey
evening
legs.
we
Nothing but turkey legs.
nothing but turkey.
For 3 months. But yeah, that's a great form of expression. You can call it art, I suppose, like making all the accoutrement to the game, but also the act of playing the game. It's like a really slow motion improv with fantasy elements. And that's just fun
Yeah,
for everyone to express themselves through a character that's not them. And they really work
it's
on
just
making
pretend
that
with
character
rules.
fleshed out. Pretend with rules. It's really wonderful. That's some art with oh well, like for me, I paint and I do drawing and blah 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 blah. There's always something on my mind art related. It's kind of never
This
not
is
on
the
my
first time
mind.
hearing about any of this.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you knew this, but I went to art school. But anyway, Yeah, I like to do art. My output is not nearly what I'd like it to be, but I think every artist would say that. But anyway, that's just some art appreciation. Talking about art today, and I think we got to the very bare bones of the basics. We didn't really get anywhere. But this has been Gorp. You can reach us at Gorp Show on Twitter or the TheSadFan Media on YouTube's. My name's been Josh. My art is available at JR Berkeley on the gram. Nick, thanks for coming out again.
Oh, no problem.
Where can they reach you, Nick? Where can they see some of the stuff you've done?
Nobody can see me ever.
Nobody knows.
Okay, John Cena. John Cena over here. Nobody can see me.
I'm just a figment of your imagination.
And he left. I'll make sure he logs back in so we get the file.
All right. Well, I'm Fry, and you can reach us at TheSadFan12. This has been Art Distracted. We'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, next week, guys.